Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the student government. If you're wondering why, has it always been this way? Yes, it has always been this way. Anyways, if you don't know who I am, my name is Tyler Squire. I've been working with a legal team that has been filing cases to protect student rights, create better enforcement, and ensure fair elections. You might have seen the video. I'll basically do a recap. Basically, after we spent all those cases, the Supreme Court has refused to do its job at doing judicial review, and basically put their hands up, and has basically allowed the Constitution to be completely unenforceable. Basically, technically allowing the executive and the legislative branch to do whatever they want, and basically strip the student body of their student rights and powers. So we have actually got an update. So we actually got an update on the motions that we submitted. And so basically, instead of the court actually accusing and actually holding themselves accountable for not following their own procedures, they have decided to sneakily reinterpret their own procedures and basically say that oral hearings are now optional instead of them being always mandatory, because that has always been the case for over 20 years. It has been mandatory to have oral hearings for cases for 20 years and have all these hearings open to the public so the public can see all the deliberations on these cases. Instead, they have said, well, we're going to try to be transparent in the future, but actually we're about to not hold any preliminary hearings and have no oral hearings. So we're about to be as untransparent as possible. And this is a big deal because the judicial court has basically ignored their own internal procedures. And according to Florida Statute 104.26, they're actually compelled to follow their internal procedures and not just do these sneaky reinterpretations. Or otherwise, they might have just opened this student government to hot legal water and may have opened the entire university to litigation. So basically, this is the rule they basically failed to, follow oral argument. See, the court will hear oral argument on all cases. It does not decline to hear a preliminary hearing or an email notification to the petitioner. They refuse to do that. And they have started all the way back in 2025, actually. They refuse to hear a case about political jargon regarding, well, let's see, the system in the Indies. They refuse to hear an oral hearing on interpreting the rules and procedures. They refuse to hear an oral hearing on Student Body Statute 322.51, which basically governs how the student senate gets data about getting enforcement. And we have argued that this data ignores every single class under the anti-discrimination clause. So they can basically make a map that discriminates under institutional neutrality all these minorities, like a bunch of students from District D under that large map, and just have the plurality of students from other districts with the entire off-campus map. And another case, arbitrary and capricious, which relates to enforcement, they have also decided not to hear or hear, even though we have tried to argue that the way the district committee passed this resolution, this bill, was arbitrary and capricious. It was not up to their standards. And all these cases, the major case, 23.51, they basically just overturned 17 years of precedent, ignore stare decisis, meaning that the stability and predictability in the law is now unpredictable student government. The legitimacy of this entire University of Florida student government is up in the air now because they have basically got rid of stare decisis. They have no stability and predictability in the law. And basically, this is all like enforcement. Like, this is how they do it. They get the data. This is how they get child determined part of enforcement with systems, supervised elections, etc. on the student population according to the registrar's office. They have ignored this. They have ignored every single serious case about what we have submitted. And this goes right to the heart of student government. They have decided to ignore every case and not hold any oral arguments. I think that's just outrageous. Just look at this map. District D, that's what we're trying to fight for. We're trying to fight for all those people who have been constantly blamed for the minority party and now been just silenced with this map. And as you can see, there's an explicit clause that says Section 4 discrimination is prohibited. And as one student pointed out in our area public comment, this student government is bound to the Florida laws of state and federal government. So they can't just ignore everything and just say, oh, this is just role play. This is just like model unit. No, it's not. This is a real government. You decide $24 million of the budget. You can't just ignore this and say, well, this doesn't matter. It does matter. And you're basically just allowing student rights to be permitted. This is outrageous. I was nice in my previous public comments. I thought the court would comply, but now they're just making a mockery of this. They're saying the court is not meant to be an ivory tower and accessible to students at the university. Exactly. You're not meant to be an ivory tower. And this directly impacts actually the ICE resolution, because now Senator Andrew Larson cannot file an appeal against the Judiciary Committee's decision and say that it was arbitrary and capricious, because now the court's basically held their hands up and say, well, no, we can't do anything. So this resolution is just permanently dead now because Andrew Larson cannot do anything to appeal this case. it's dead now. The court has ensured it's dead, the student senate has ensured it's dead, and well, the executive branch, they have been nominating these justices, and the student senate has been approving these justices by announcing other annual orders and has been objecting to it. This has been a complete structural fault with this university form of student government. I can tell you more after this public comment. I'm here to talk, but basically that's it. That's the state of the student government. It's not really a student government, it's just another way for administration to do stuff. It's not student government anymore. The court is basically telling you it's not. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I have another update from the Supreme Court. They actually decided to grant us oral hearings for this case. So I'm going to talk about one of the cases that they're going to be hearing in the next few weeks. And this case is about the unfairness of the Wash Act, which compared this to this. See? 5 districts to that. And this is not a discrimination case, because the Supreme Court has heard a bunch of those cases, at least 2 of them. This is not a discrimination case. This is about the fairness of the electoral system, not about any minority group being discriminated against. And this is like one of the major cases that the court has heard. They basically put a very high threshold for establishing a voter dilution claim and set a bunch of other standards. This is not about voter dilution. It's about the fairness of the map. I'm going to keep repeating that. So as you can see here, in Article 1, Section 2A, the students have the right to vote in student government elections. But the court also recognized in a previous case in 2011, Lewis versus Students Party, where students are actually entitled to a fair student government election, along with that right to vote. As you can see, students are entitled to a constitutionally to a fair election. And the question that we're going to ask this court today, were students materially prevented from exercising their political will through this at-large map? And basically that means, are students actually allowed to have their voices matter in elections if they vote for the losing party? And we're saying this at-large map doesn't allow them to have their actual voice be heard, only the majority's voice be heard. It's a winner-take-all district. As you can see, this is basically what the map does. Let's say hypothetically in a 3-way race, there's 3 parties. There's a majority party, that party wins. They have 37.9% vote, and there's 2 minority parties. They get 34.1% vote, 28% vote. According to this map, and due to plurality voting, because that's how our election always operates since this student government's founding, at least since we're the rare exception in the 1940s where they did ranked choice voting, and then they didn't do that. It was a weird experiment. The map, this majority party's entire slate would win everything. That's how it's been for the past few years, and they have always won everything. 37.9% of the vote, they didn't even get close to 50%. Because of plurality, they get 100% of the seats. We're saying that the voters in the minority party 1 and minority party 2 are not having their voices be properly heard for all candidates. Their votes are not being counted. It's an unfair election because this party that only wins by like 3% gets everything. That doesn't seem very fair. And that's, according to this entire case, that's basically what this whole thing is. And as you can see, this is basically the map. This is how the map has been for the past 3 elections. Vision has won this election, Vision has won this election, Vision has won this election. The other parties, Change, Watch, Gator, Vision, Pizza, Change, only Vision won. Only Vision won. Not even Watch won. Only Vision. And we're saying that's completely unfair. And when it goes back to this question, were students materially prevented from exercising political vote? We're saying yes. They're being materially prevented by this map. And it doesn't, I want to make things clear. It doesn't matter even with the allegations from the previous complaint of a political machine. It doesn't even matter. Because in the context of a normal student government, this map will still be unfair. We're arguing that in general, this map is still unfair because the majority party, the winning party, whoever wins, they get all the seats. So, by that logic, this map should be ruled completely unconstitutional and we should be going back towards a more district-based model. Thank you.
All right, we are now in line for
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have an update from the court. We're going to hear our cases on Wednesday and Thursday, and I'll basically go over the 4 cases in quick summary. So the first one is public comment, the constitutional public comment in regards to students' rights, students having the right to address public officials at the appropriate places. the Fairness case with the at-large map, which I mentioned last week. And then the third case is about the reconsideration of the Statute Statute 2022.51 Constitution under the Anti-Discrimination Act. And then the fourth one is the validity of the minimum requirements for smaller colleges, independent schools, and dorms. All these cases will be heard tomorrow and on Thursday, so if anyone's interested, you can attend according to these places. Anyways, I'm going to go over to something else. So the court has received a recusal to a motion to recuse itself in response to ethics complaint was submitted 2 weeks ago, but so far they haven't acknowledged it whatsoever, even though they are subject to the allegation there. And I would like to mention that anyone's welcome to respond to allegations there, any accused political party organization. So anyways, I'll just summarize what we went through just before I was out. So basically, the Senate President and Chief Justice were charged with unlawful compensation of official behavior, conflict of interest, and inducing an act. And I'll basically I'll go summarize the evidence. So basically, 1998 Grassley defamation case establishes that Board of Bluekeys runs student government through a political machine known as the system. Board of Bluekeys lost that lawsuit, but as established in the academic thesis from 2005 to 2025, that political machine has survived and has reformed itself from a factional system into a more rigid block system. And they operate through a voting sticker collection, and this voting sticker collection helps them win elections. And the news party, Vision Party's news iteration of the system-wide for-a-bookie back party through the item sticker collection, released interviews through past year that established that these kind of descriptions in the case and accuracy still exist. And then Set 7 to 8 connect the Supreme Court for-a-bookie with past evidence of for-a-bookie executives pressuring Chief Justice, Supreme Court justices that changed their opinion on controversial opinions, and Set 7 established a connection between Senate President Maya and Chief Justice Haynes through their shared administrative work-bookie and running under the same work-bookie back-gated party. So now into the main meat and potatoes for this case. So Set 9. The Indian Party, for the first time in recorded history, won majority in the state Senate, which turned in Board of Bluekeys monetary conflicts of interest with acts in SJP, as they used the Senate to pass budget bills that benefit acts in SJP. So in doing so, they basically went through a process to ruled out multi-district map unconstitutional, which had benefited any party's victory in that case, through a month later after that victory. And then in the fall, they raised an injunction to implement an off-campus map. So they turned this into this, and which this has helped Board of Bluekeys come back to power in the student senate through absolute control by helping the most recent iteration win all 37 at-large seats. And as you can see, these are the past election results for the past 3 years of this map being implemented. And while there have been cases that we have submitted that challenge various aspects of apportionment from the map itself, from discrimination, voter evolution, through trying to prove that there's a system that has voting blocks that permit these voting blocks to basically have majority control over this map, or through like challenging the collection of enforcement data, such as the anti-discrimination clause of 322.51. The court has decided to either refuse to exercise this review, ignore evidence, saying on this from this as when you submitted, or just decide to make rulings that just benefit the continuing existence at the archive despite all these concerns, just making higher thresholds to prove that it's for language or discrimination. And basically, they have reinterpreted their own rules to make the court less transparent, less able for anyone to challenge this map, and basically just ensure that any case that goes in their challenge map is really at the mercy of this court's own discretion, not really any merit of the arguments. So instead of acknowledging this ethics complaint, which has extensive allegations against that court, and clearly presenting a conflict of interest under certified statute 402.1, which states that any associate justice or chief justice hearing the cases might have a conflict of interest with the outcome of the case, they have refused to acknowledge that ethics complaint and recuse themselves. So they're still going to hear all our cases, which are all like mentioned in the ethics complaint. They're still going to hear them with the same justices, the same chief justice that has been accused of this behavior. So I'd like to put that on the record, that the Supreme Court has refused to accuse itself in response to this ethics complaint. That's basically that's basically unfortunate circumstances, but we're ready to defend our cases and we're ready to fight out in court tomorrow. So thank you. Have a nice night.